Hello, YouTube family. This is Alex here from VonGontaHaus German Shepherds. Today, I'm here by myself. There is no additional guest on this show. It's just me. And I thought we do a recap video of some of the videos we've made over the last 5 years. This channel has really grown. We now have 2,700 subscribers, which is a small channel compared to some bigger channels. But I thank all of you who chose to subscribe. I thank all of you who choose to watch. It is very heartening to me that you, the audience, choose to watch this channel and participate and come back to this channel over and over for information. This channel grew out of some ideas that I had when I started this channel. One of the first ideas I had in starting this channel was I wanted to promote my dog breeding business of German Shepherds. And so there are videos on my channel related to the 5 types of German Shepherds: the working line, the Czech line, the East German working line, which is essentially extinct, the West German show line, and the American show line. There's a video called the straight back versus curved back German Shepherd. Even though that's not the right name, a lot of people refer to it as such. And so I made a video with the easier name to remember rather than the correct name, because most people don't refer to it that way. They just say straight back, non-straight back, and they may not be actually accurate, but in everyday parlance, that's how people describe it. So I made a video about that. I made a video about the colors of the German Shepherd, which color combinations produce which color combinations. If you pair a bicolor with, let's say, a black and tan, or you pair a black with a black and red, uh, what will be the outcome of the puppies based on the color of the parents? I made a lot of different videos. Um, I thought we'd take a little time to review this channel for those who have not watched all of it. And then let's talk about how the channel will evolve. And I want your input. So let's take a few minutes to review this channel. So as you can see, this is the channel. And let's talk about playlists. The first playlist is the podcast I participated in. And I wanted to thank all the people who chose to either invite me to their channel or create a podcast in joint with me. So the first person I wanted to thank is George Church from the NWA Cane Corso series channel. If you notice, I did 3 videos with him about math reading, understanding how to read a pedigree, and successful line breeding techniques. These videos are some of the most in-depth videos on line breeding on YouTube. Everybody explains inbreeding, not line breeding, for the most part, and they use the words interchangeably. I'm one of the few people on YouTube which go into the math and coefficient of inbreeding mathematically, and I also explain how to combine genetic testing with Embark as an additional layer of security if you're going to do multi-generations of related dogs, how to get the best outcome while minimizing risk. So I have 3 videos on that alone with Joe Church. He also contributed in a great deal to this channel by me cooperating with him, and called Unveiling the Secrets of Dog Training and Dog Culture and Tools. We did a lot of information about the tools of correction-based training versus purely positive reinforcement. And we spoke about a hybrid approach, which is mostly positive, but adds a layer of corrections for reliability. And we talked about how a small vocal community in the dog world is shutting down all tools, prong collars, e-collars, and any form of correction, and how that's hurting dogs. I then did another video with Joe called The Unveiling of Secrets of Dog Culture, where we spoke about um, the adopt don't shop movement and how that small vocal movement is taking over dog breeders and giving breeders a bad name, and how breeders should be proud of what they do because we bring love into people's lives, especially if you're like me. You're a small hobby breeder. You put a lot of love into your puppies, and you want people to go along the journey with you from birth to the time they leave their home. You want to have some intelligent program to your breeding program. And this video talks about in great detail how dog sports combined with the adopt don't shop movement, how these two are intersecting movements which are limiting the dog breeding world and the dog training world, which are intersection worlds. I then made a video again with Joe, uh, with Gerard from the Doberman channel, where we talked about Schutzen, which is now called IGP. And we've done a collaboration video of two Schutzen trainers speaking the same terminology and how dog sports can be used to select best to best breeding criteria, and how dog sports refine what you're looking for as selection partners in dog breeding. So, how selection pressure from dog sports can be used to create a gene pool with all the same pulls in the same direction. For example, high prey drive, high trainability or biddability, as it's called, good nose, good structure. So, how the sport of IGP and there are other bite sports like KNPV, ring sport, how these sports can be used to push a bloodline toward a specific set of goals, that it's like sharpening a knife. You sharpen the knife by constantly moving the rock, the stone on the knife edge, and by constantly sharpening the knife against a piece of stone, so too can you sharpen the genetics of the German Shepherd or other working breeds um, toward similar goals despite the geographical country of origin. In other words, you're not seeking geographical purity in your dog. Oh, these are only Czech dogs and they're only bred to other Czech dogs. Or these are German dogs to only be bred to other German dogs. No, the goal is not geographical purity. The goal is a consistent performance bloodline, irregardless of geographical purity. So we're not seeking geographical purity, we're seeking performance purity for a set of goals. And so the Czech lines and West German working lines are now increasingly being intermixed uh, for that goal. I would argue that's an undesirable goal to mix West German show lines with working lines, because you get neither a good working dog nor do you get a show dog. These two lines have become so separate, I would argue they're essentially separate breeds with simply the same title. If you look at the Belgian breeds, the Tourveren, the Groenendael, the Malinois, uh, and the Lacanois, they all were originally called Belgian sheepdogs. But because of different phenotype and different temperament characteristics, there are now four distinct breeds. I honestly think that even though it's the same breed standard and the same stud book, there's so much lack of crossing of bloodlines between working lines and show lines for 40 years that an occasional cross here and there is not reuniting the breed. It is really two separate breeds with the same name only, in my personal opinion. So I think the breed should be divided permanently, not just as two separate types of the same breed. I honestly think it's at this point of time two separate breeds by what definition of a breed is. So in this video, we spoke about what performance attributes a dog brings to the table to be considered worthy of being a sport dog. In this video, again with Joe, we spoke about the unveiling the secrets of dog training and dog tools and dog culture. So Joe and I appeared in his show multiple times, and he contributed enormously to the variety of topics on this channel. Another person I want to thank is Raul from the QBN channel. I appear in his show at least 3 or 4 times. We spoke a lot about genetics, a lot about line breeding, a lot about temperament characteristics and conformation characteristics, and how to create a line breeding program based on increasing the allelic frequency of a common ancestor multiple times in the fourth or fifth generation. How bringing that ancestor forward in time accomplishes similar results to having a closer inbreeding of aunt to nephew or uncle to niece. And we discussed it um, Mathematically, we discussed how to avoid inbreeding depression and some of the drawbacks of inbreeding, because let's face it, line breeding is a milder version of inbreeding. We discussed this in great detail on this show, and I would think some of you want maybe to revisit this classic. Another topic I discussed with Raul is the adopt don't shop movement, how this movement is very vocal and how it is not virtuous because as it claims to be in promoting dog adoption versus buying a dog for your family. How the adopt movement is really another form of business and not really adopt. And the president and CEO of SPCA is making $1 million a year. How is he making $1 million a year if it's all adopt and the adoption fee is not a profit and there's no money being made? You tell me how they can afford to pay him $1 million a year, not 100,000 a year, not 200,000 a year, not 300,000 a year, not 750,000 a year, $1 million a year. Keep in mind, the president of the United States makes 400,000 a year, and a U.S. senator makes 200,000 a year. So for the head of a corporation to make $1 million a year, how is that profit possible that they can make a profit and still pay him a salary of $1 million a year? You got to ask yourself those questions. So this video exposes some of the lies you hear in the adopt don't shop movement. I really urge you to revisit this video. Um, so another contributor to this channel is Alex Vaccaro from the Vaccaro channel. He breeds, he's a Canadian, he breeds uh, Cane Corso or Presa Canario Mastiff type dogs. He's also a trainer. He and I did a two-part video of some of the pitfalls a breeder may face. People think it's an easy journey. They don't think about the sleepless nights, the bad relationship with certain customers, some customers mistreating your dogs after they go to new homes. How, as a breeder, you must always provide a lifeline back to you, the breeder, in breeding your dogs, because you must always be able to step in for what the dogs you've produced. An ethical breeder will not simply allow their puppy that they've produced and nursed to go into bad hands. So some of the negative experiences of being a breeder, between lack of sleep, emotional support, uh, bad stories with some bad customers, that side of the business was not touched upon in any other videos in as much as I spoke with about it with Alex Vaccaro. So I urge you to to watch this video, Breeding Journey, The Truth About Becoming a Dog Breeder. It's part one of a two-part series that it'll open your eyes. I urge you to watch that video. Of course, my friend Jim from Jim Shorty Jacks, this was an extensive conversation about a topic called back massing versus back breeding. We went into an extensive level of detail of how a program can be developed combining multiple first and second cousin marriages, where through multiple second cousin marriages, you can enforce the common ancestor, but you're bringing forth the family of traits as opposed to recreating that particular dog. We also talked about selective pressure of line breeding and what kind of selection pressure is involved. And one of the most important concepts in breeding dogs when you're line breeding is a concept called compensatory mating. Compensatory mating, meaning that the female compensates for the weaknesses in the male and the male compensates for the weaknesses in the female, whether it's chest or top line or ear carriage or bite. How you must pick partners not only of a similar phenotype between the two, but where the characteristics of the one help to offset the characteristics or weaknesses of the other to create the best phenotype closest to the breed standard of the breed. So the concept of compensatory mating as an additional tool in the toolbox of the breeder was discussed in this video. We went into a great deal of detail of how a line is formed within a specific breedership without necessarily inbreeding, how to do it with line breeding. So I urge you to watch this video. It's similar to the video with Raul and other videos on my channel, but every new speaker who speaks on this topic contributes their own point of view, and I wish to thank Jim for his contribution. Uh, so these videos are called podcasts. Now go back to the channel And the other videos on this channel, let's see if I can do it right. It's called Puppies. If you look at these videos, these are some of the puppies we produced of either myself or friends of mine, where we are discussing the puppies we produced. So we go to playlists and we go to puppies. And in this video series of this playlist, you will see a lot of videos. So you'll see puppies, and who doesn't like to see puppies? You will see my wife in some of these videos handling puppies. You will see my girl Bailey with puppies. You'll see their development from birth until 5 or 8 weeks of age, how to make food for dogs, puppy socialization, puppy marker training with a touch stick, how to handle puppies in order to make them not afraid of being handled, um, puppies from other litters of Jago and Luna or my own dogs, how to secure puppy deposits ahead of breeding in order to increase. You don't just put random dogs together and expect to make money. You have to develop a buyer's list. And as a person who only breeds once a year, for now, people are in line waiting for my puppies. So I explain how to build desire in your buyers because you're giving them very high quality puppies raised in a very good, loving environment. And people will pay for that. People will pay not just for puppies, but will pay for the fact that they're well socialized. I follow puppy culture as a raising protocol, and I advise you to watch these video series about puppies. Uh, Another video, what to expect from upcoming litters. So again, this list is all about puppies and more are coming or puppy announcements. For example, my female Lucy will go into heat very, very soon. We're now in May. We will do a 3-3 line breeding on Karel van Brandenburg, the famous Cane PB champion. And so sometimes you will see puppy announcement videos of upcoming litters. And I will announce upcoming puppies. And I urge you to watch the video, which gives you an idea of the parents and the pedigree of the parents and what attributes they possess. Smart parent dogs make smart puppies. And I urge you to watch these puppy announcements because that's how I let you know puppies are coming. If you're interested in high quality German Shepherds, this is where you find a puppy announcement on the puppies playlist tab. And the video will, of course, play in its own as well. Getting back to the top of the channel, we now covered podcasts I've done with other people. We've covered the playlist regarding puppies. What other videos are in this playlist? Well, some of the most well received videos on this channel have to do with lion breeding. The channel, in fact, started growing once I started making videos about lion breeding. So, a large part of the audience of this channel are breeders. Another group of people who watch this channel a lot are long distance truck drivers, it looks like. They listen to this podcast and I think they find it informative. So, hello to our commercial truck drivers. You keep us safe on the roads and you supply all our food and all our produce and all our things we use. So, my salute to you guys. Stay safe on the roads. So, wait for this thing to load. Obviously, I'm doing this live, so it's not going to respond as fast as I'd like. So now let me go back to YouTube. Otherwise, um, it'll keep doing the search thing. So we'll go back to my channel and we'll go back to playlists. And I invite you to watch some of these videos. Some of these are gems in terms of educational content that you can get on line breeding. Some of these are some of the best videos on line breeding you can probably find on the internet. And not to brag, but I really feel that's true. So if you watch some of the videos on playlists, going back to playlists, you will see one of the original playlists that got this channel going was the playlist on line breeding and genetics topics. You see this one right here? The first video on this topic, which really kicked this channel into high gear, was this video right here. Let me just skip this commercial here for a second. So this video got, as you can see, 33,000 views 4 years ago. This video from 4 years ago kicked this channel into high gear. It is still the most often viewed video on this channel, and I did this video 4 years ago. So this video kind of is a big summary of a lot of topics I covered later on in more detail. I then created a 4-part series of how to do line breeding and inbreeding, where I go over both the math and multiple concepts. So these 4 videos, 1 to 4, oh boy, it timed out here. Let's just refresh that. As I said, we're doing this live, so something is causing this to time out a little bit, because the bandwidth for recording through StreamYard and this is high bandwidth, so we might have an issue. So let's just wait for this to load before we go further. So this video is part of a 4-part series on multiple techniques: the cousin technique, half sibling technique, and uncle to niece technique. And I explain and break it down in terms of the benefits and risks of each technique. So this is part of a 4-part series. 1, 2, 3. Now this is 3A and 3B. So here I go into the technique, and in 3B I go into coefficient of relationship and coefficient of inbreeding to show it mathematically. And of course, video 4 is a summary. I then have a video of breeding by phenotype and by genotype. It's part of a 2-part series. Do you breed dogs based on breeding best to best, which simply look alike? Let's say German Shepherds are black and tan to another black and tan, but they look alike and they're, let's say, good performance or they're sportive IGP. Is that enough to create a line? Would you breed dogs which look similar and have good performance as your benchmark, but are only distantly related or not related at all? Or would you breed dogs which are related, also have good performance, but don't phenotypically look similar? What would be the outcome of breeding dogs which are related? Would you be able to capture phenotype through that kind of a mating? Or would you be able to have very different phenotype despite them being related? Or is it best to breed by phenotype and genotype combined, where they both look similar and are related? So this topic of how to breed by phenotype and genotype, and where each enters your breeding program, is in these 2 videos here. So I'm not going to repeat what I said. And let me end this call for a second. We'll go back to that call a little later. So this video of phenotype versus genotype explains it all. I then have a 3-part series on the color genetics of the German Shepherd. If any of you wanted to know which color combinations will combine with which other color combinations, this video explains which colors bred to which other colors will produce what results in your German Shepherd litter. So I invite you to revisit these 3 videos, part 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3, on the color genetics of the German Shepherd. This is another video I made with Joe on the math of dog breeding, which is very similar to this video of calculating COR and COI, but I break it down into simpler terms for the audience, some of which may not do math that well. In this video with Raul from the QBN channel, I go over different dog breeding techniques and how to move a line of dogs forward without inbreeding. We go over second cousin marriage and first cousin marriage, where we talk about double second cousins and double first cousins. By breeding double first or double second, we're achieving the grandparent moving forward 1 generation. This video combined with testing by Embark to rule out genetic defects. In other words, we're combining traditional line breeding techniques. We're using selection, but we're also adding an element of Embark testing, not to breed a carrier to a carrier. And also you can identify attributes that you want, let's say bigger bone, long coat, let's say. So without having to raise the dog until 6, 7 months, you have to keep a specific puppy, let's say. Let's say you're breeding pit bulls and you want a heavier head, bigger head and a bigger bone. Well, there's a genetic marker from Embark that can tell you which puppy will have bigger bone and bigger head without waiting for them to grow until they're 6 months old. Find that out. You can find out from a genetic test alone. Or if you're breeding a German Shepherd, let's say when a long coat, the recessive trait. Let's say you breed a long coat to a standard coat. Now you don't know which puppies because they all come out standard coat, unless the parent, which is standard coat, carries long coat as well. Well, let's say you wanted to find out which puppies are only standard coat and which puppies carry the long coat gene for a future generation as a recessive trait. Well, as you know, the only way to get a gene is to carry a recessive with a recessive. In other words, if these are two genes which are different, they're not going to meet up. But if this was another blue marker, with another blue marker, that's a recessive meeting a recessive, and then it combines from both sides, right? So how to use genetic testing to preemptively know what the genetic combination in your dog is as a breeding decision. So not only do we cover dog breeding techniques, but we cover Embark testing as a tool to then be leveraged in doing dog breeding techniques. In this video, pre-potency and examples, I cover a famous dog named Yukon Van Perot in my own lines, which is the great grandfather of all my dogs, pretty much that I have right now. And I show how his lack of pre-potency, meaning he was not inbred or line bred at all, he could not pass himself despite him being a great champion. So the female he was bred to had more of a determining factor in the outcome of how the pups looked than him. And I show in the video, it's 30 minutes of showing example after example, how different siblings from the same male all looked very different depending on the mother he was bred to. This is a real life example of where prepotency worked or didn't work. And instead of talking about it in generic terms, um, let me get rid of that phone call. You never know when the phone rings. Let me put it on buzzer. I thought I did that, but apparently not. Uh, you will see um, it shown with a real life example of what worked and didn't work. If you remember the race course secretariat, he was not prepotent. Another video which talks about uh, how to build a bloodline and do selection testing, part 1 and part 2, how to select and how to create a bloodline. A video on Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium equation. This is kind of a dry topic that most breeders will not care about. This is for large-scale population genetics. But Raul from the QBN channel is very interested in the math of dog breeding, and we cover that in this video, as well as how to select dogs based on temperament. For example, you want to breed aggression out of your lines. You don't want aggression, either dog on dog aggression, dog on human aggression. You don't want that in your lines. So we covered initially large scale population genetics of a breed as a whole across multiple countries, for example. And then we talked about a specific program in your yard. So this video covers that topic. Another video was pre-potent sires. Another video I made with Raul from the QBN channel. In this video, we talked about how the prepotency of a sire and how creating a prepotent sire is important in a breeding program, either a prepotent sire or a prepotent dam. But the best approach is a prepotent sire, because a dam has a short shelf life and how many puppies she can produce before she's retired. But a sire is potent until well into his old age. So that is why we focused on sires. We talked about mastering the art of breeding. Another video I did with Raul, where we talked about multiple techniques in creating a line, where I expand on some of my videos I did by myself. This is a very detailed video. This video, brackets formula, got over 4,400 views almost overnight, where I explained Lloyd Brackett's technique, and it got a lot of views very quickly. In this video, how to set up a breeding program on your yard, I created a multi-step technique involving multiple generations of ancestors of a common dog and how that can be used to create multiple second cousin marriages to bring a particular ancestor forward in time. That technique called back massing versus back breeding, where you bring back the dog directly. But what if the dog is not alive, or you're breeding to frozen semen, or the dog is not available in any way, frozen semen or not? What would you do to line breed in a dog which is gone but was a great dog? So this video shows how to bring an ancestor back from the past essentially without doing genetic engineering or genetic cloning. This is a technique to increase the influence of a genetic ancestor in great detail. Part 1 and part 2 show that, and in part 3, I made a kind of an interesting video of how a breed is created in the first place. So this is a podcast I invite you to look at. So now, my computer is timing out. I'm going to stop sharing. So now, I'm not going to go through all the playlists on this channel. Suffice it to say, there are videos on raising dogs. There's videos on how to handle puppy customers which seem objectionable to you on the phone, and you might have to say no as opposed to saying yes. I find that there are 4 no's for every 1 yes in working with puppy buyers. There's videos of how to raise and socialize a dog. So this is a recap video. It's not meant to be a table of contents for other videos, but now I ask the audience for their input. Please comment below on the following questions. Question 1 is, who do you want to see me collaborate with on this channel? And what is a video you'd like to see? I would like to hear from you. Who do you want me to see as a joint podcast on this channel? Remember, we've covered books on dog training. We've covered genetics a great deal. We've covered socialization. We've covered puppy care. We've covered a lot of topics. So if you want me to speak to a particular person, please give the person's name and what topic you want to cover. So that would be one comment I would like from the audience below. Another topic I haven't covered is the topic of dog training, at least not in great detail. You see, on YouTube, there's a lot of videos on dog training, and they fall into one of 2 camps. Either they're an elemental video for the average consumer showing how to do sit, down, come, and give paw, and they're very simple videos, or they're very high-end videos of a sport dog being trained for competition obedience. But there's nothing in the middle. There's nothing where it's either for the average pet owner or the professional trainer. There's nothing in the middle. Now, I hesitated to publish videos on dog training because I'm not a professional trainer at the level you see in some of the videos where you have very high level trainers, which are competition trainers. I do compete, but I'm not at the level of some of the high end dogs. Now, the YouTube world and the internet world can be kind of very negative. I try to keep this channel positive. I don't criticize other channels. I don't mention anybody on this channel in a negative way. I don't work with gossip. I don't work with innuendo. I don't keep any kind of conflicts that arise in the dog world on this channel. I don't have profanity on this channel. I keep it family friendly. I try to make the audience watch this channel for information and for the love of dogs. I think there's a need for videos which bridge the gap between the pet training and high level obedience training. I didn't want to publish videos for fear of being criticized on my techniques because I think there is a need for the average consumer to learn how to do dog training that is above pet level obedience but below competition level obedience. But the techniques can be leveraged from both sides. It has to be something that the average dog owner can do. It cannot be only something that a professional can do. The greatest skill in training a dog is not training the dog. Training the dog is easy. Training the person who owns the dog is hard. That is where the greatest problem is in training dogs. Training the owner. You can train a dog very well, but if the owner doesn't follow up or doesn't understand what you're explaining, all the training you did fails. And ultimately, the consumer, which is the owner of the dog, thinks you didn't do a good job. They're not going to blame themselves that they didn't follow through or didn't understand everything, or they think they understood it, but they really didn't. So I think there's a need for an intermediate dog training channel, which is neither a competition level obedience channel or a consumer pet level channel. It's something in between. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube from professional trainers, some very high level trainers like Ivan Balabanov, Michael Ellis, um, Dave Croyer, um, Janice Gunn. They're well above what the average consumer will consume. They're more competition obedience. And there are other videos which are very simplified, but it doesn't give enough understanding to the average pet owner or what the progression should be in training their dog. A lot of people think dog training is 5 minutes and it's overnight, when in fact it's a slow progression of repetitions. That is how most dog training is done, through a lot of repetition and breaking an exercise into smaller pieces and then chaining it together to become a complex behavior chain. So the goal of this channel in growing is to perhaps give videos which are intermediate in level between the average pet person level and the competition person. Let me know if that kind of a video series would be interesting to you by commenting below. How else would you like to see this channel grow in the next year or so? What would be some of the things you'd like to see in this channel? So I end this video by thanking all of you for our growth and our continued success. I thank all of you for watching. I thank all of you for commenting. Please subscribe. Please visit some of our advertisers. By you buying vitamins from NuVet or other products we might recommend, you keep this channel going. We have to pay for some editing sometimes from third parties. We need to have music professionally added to some videos. Some I can do myself. Some I have to pay other people to edit this channel. So you're offsetting some of the costs of this channel. People come to a channel, they expect a certain level of professionalism in the channel, in the video editing, camera equipment, sound equipment, and so forth. By you contributing to our advertisers, you're contributing to us. There's a link of how to buy me a coffee. You don't have to, but if you want to contribute slightly to this channel, it'll offset some of the costs of video editing software and other people who help me edit some of these videos. Not all of them, but some of them. So that would be appreciated. Visit our advertisers, visit our sponsors. We don't recommend things we ourselves don't buy. I definitely buy whatever I recommend. So, and it'll do your dog a world of good to give them some vitamins, because you cannot be nutritionally complete without vitamins. And there are other products this channel will sell that will be recommended and tried by yours truly. So keep up the good work. Recommend this channel to other people. We would appreciate it. We try to run a clean ship here. No profanity, no nudity, no gossip, no drama, just dogs. So keep watching. I thank you all. We're now 207 videos strong and growing. Thank you everybody who contributed to this channel. Thank you everybody for who I was able to share the stage with. And I look forward to hearing from the audience of this channel. Thank you everybody. Bye for now.